this project, it was a Clear Roads project out of year 20. It was the reason for this project was for the FMCSA rule change. It came out in February of actually, so this was a project was 2020. It was actually conducted in 2021, and it was in advance of the February 7th ruling of this year. And just basically getting folks ready to be compliant and prepared to be compliant with us FMCSA ruling. So this project put together a number of training materials, which have been made available to Clear Roads, but also because of Clear Roads' generosity, they've been made available to anyone who wants to use them. And to this date, we've had over 830 requests by various entities and groups within the United States to use this material, anywhere from state DOTs to large cities to toll authorities to trucking companies and schools, bus companies, pretty much anything you could imagine have used this, and it's been a huge success. So really what we wanted to do is we wanted to explore the idea of conducting implementation webinars about a year after completion of these projects to see how states are getting these findings and these practices and these various outcomes of these projects into practice within their states. So that's what we're doing with this one. This is our first, and today we have on this entry-level driver training webinar, implementation webinar, we're going to start out with Ohio. We'll have Scott Lucas and Doug McLaughlin. Then we'll go to Iowa, Craig Bartfried and Jason Fisher. And then we're going to have Idaho, Steve Spohr and Amanda Rayner. Then we're going to go to Indiana, Jeremy McGuffey and Pat Sezwak. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, Pat. And then finally, South Dakota, Craig Smith and Jim Heafy. So I'm going to turn it over to Ohio and Scott Lucas to introduce Doug. And in the meantime, Doug, I'm going to give you controls for the presentation. Scott?
Greg, it looks like Clay just is able to connect. I don't know, Clay, do you want to say anything before?
Well, I'm back on the phone again. I closed out my computer and it killed my phone connection. I apologize. I'm trying to do this on the road with a chauffeur, but hopefully the next webinar, if we have another one, will go smoother than this. So I just wanted to appreciate everybody volunteering to present at this and for all of the participants. So we had over 79 invites and at least 48 people signed up. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Scott Lucas and Doug McLaughlin from Ohio. Thank you.
Thank you, Clay. Appreciate it. As Clay and Greg had said, my name is Scott Lucas. I'm with the Ohio Department of Transportation. I'm a Clear Roads representative for Ohio. And Doug McLaughlin is the head of our training office and in charge of doing a lot of our training for CDLs, among other different vehicles and that. And he's got staff that's statewide. Back a few months ago, a couple of years ago, actually, Doug and his supervisor, Devine Goodman, and I talked about the need for this and thought we proposed a Clear Road. So glad to hear it's been a success for everybody. So with that, I'd like to introduce Doug McLaughlin. If you want to go and share your screen then, Doug, and we'll go and start with your presentation.
Hey, Scott.
Yes.
Just real quick, this is Sandy from Maryland. So some of us were over on the Teams invite. We were waiting for Clay to get over on the Teams invite. And so yeah, so there's a few of us that are migrating over to the GoTo meeting.
Okay.
We're the slow ones who didn't realize.
No.
Maybe just another minute. Thanks.
Okay. Who put together the teams on that, Sandy?
I think initially it was set up as a Teams, and then when we decided that it would be easier for me to do this and to record it and post it, we switched it to GoToMeeting. It was put in the calendar invite as GoToMeeting, but with calendar invites and the difficulty with some of these days, I'm not surprised that some people still just had Teams.
Sure. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought I might have done that. I was asking.
So,
No,
well,
good.
Yeah, so I wasn't the only one that was over there. And that's, so just a few, maybe another minute or so if you guys don't mind. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
this is a
Thanks a lot for
recorded
running us
webinar,
through
so I think we're going to move forward on this. So Doug, go ahead and appreciate it.
that. Yep. Thank you.
Very, very good. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes,
Am I
we can see it, Doug.
sharing?
Yep,
Okay,
you're
very
sharing
good,
just
very
fine.
good. So,
Mhm.
good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity to be a part of this webinar. We have a lot to share, and I think we'll have a lot to learn from other DOTs as we go through this. So, my name is Doug McLaughlin. I'm the ODOT, Ohio Department of Transportation, statewide training supervisor. So, it's kind of my role to make sure that this gets deployed throughout the state from our training officers. So, I've got a brief little PowerPoint I'm going to go through, just kind of let you know where we're at. If it wants to play. It's not advancing, so just a second. There we go. So the numbers for Ohio. Ohio has 88 counties. We have 12 individual districts here at ODOT, and hopefully you get my mouse in here. Here we go. So a district is comprised of anywhere from 7 to 8 counties in each district. Now, District 12 is very large, a municipal area of Cleveland, of course, and there's only 3 counties up there. So ODOT has a base of 5,000 ODOT employees. So of those 5,000 ODOT employees, 3,300 of those folks are highway technicians. So those are the guys out filling the potholes, plowing the roads, and taking care of things in the counties. As far as that goes. So they're all bargaining unit employees, which is good. And as far as that goes, we have 285 mechanics and auto techs out of that 5,000 that also would need CDLs, and they need to upgrade and go from there. Out of our 12 districts, we do have a central office location in Columbus, kind of the hub of the wheel. So everything kind of feeds out to these individual districts. We have one training officer usually based in each district. So one here, 3, 4, all the way around the state. There are 4 districts that have picked up the second training officer position to be able to do these entry-level driver training courses. So the purpose of that, you guys probably know that as well, is we can do 2 people at once. So somebody can be on the road with one trainer and somebody can be working on the range with the other trainer, and at noon they switch back and forth. You can knock 2 people out in a week, 2 weeks, whatever it may be. So that's a great thing. So those districts that only have one that haven't brought a second training officer on, we have mentors, and those mentors are helping out as entry-level driver training. They're kind of in, they meet the requirements through federal motor carrier. They're 2 years or more for that class they're teaching, and they're helping out as well. So there could be a potential movement for them later on with moving into a training officer position. So that's kind of where we're at there. Since February 7th of this year, when entry-level driver training deployed, thus far we've had 124 individual theory completions uploaded to the TPR. So as those theories get completed, everything is done manual or automatically through our system. So those go up, and then various dates, the range and public road gets added in after they complete their theory. So we have opted to take the PowerPoints and turn them into e-learnings, and we deploy that through our LMS, our learning management system. So I'll get into that in a second. So right now we have 10 very recent new hire employees. These are folks that have been hired in the last month. Because we have to go through the BMV and Department of Administrative Services, sometimes there's a lag on those folks getting their information into the system. So there's like a 3-week to a month delay sometimes. So sometimes I have to manually upload some of these folks with their theory because they may be scheduled real quick to do their road test. So sometimes I have to do that. Right now we have 18 employees scheduled or currently being trained in queue right now. We have 6 employees that began the theory training and have separated the state. So in other words, they found a job somewhere else or decided that something didn't fit with us with them. So in red we have 100 employees that have currently attained their CDL license. So that's a lot. So if I had to put these all manually, it'd be a lot of work on my side. But fortunately, since we have our LMS that automatically loads it up through API, it makes my life a little bit easier. Next slide. So who are we training? Apprenticeship employees. So apprenticeship employees are temporary employees hired to attain their CDL through our training officers. So we bring somebody on, we call them Highway Maintenance Worker 1. We bring them on without a CDL, and we give them 6 months to get into the system, do all their modules as far as the e-learning, and then move forward from that point. And once they get their CDL, they can apply for or automatically convert over to a highway technician, which is an HT1 position, and that's a full-time permanent position. Early on, prior to May, we had a lot of our employees that were getting their CDLs and then leaving. They were going to other employers with higher pay ranges. And what's happened is they come in, they get on board to get their license, and then they bail and go work for a city, a county, or township that are paying more than what we're paying. So we didn't like losing those folks. And, you know, with the pandemic and the slow up of CDL and everything that's happened with that, it's hard to find drivers right now. But in May of this year, we created an agreement with the Highway Maintenance Worker 1s, and they're required to sign a document saying that they will remain with our agency for at least 2 years. And if they leave prior to 2 years, then they'll reimburse us the full cost of the training, which right now it's running about $6,000. So they would have to pay that if they left our agency. What we're afraid of is there might be a county or city or township willing to pay that $6,000 to get them. So that's important. But this is the meat of our 124 folks. We got 67 Highway Maintenance Worker 1s that are scheduled or already been trained on entry-level driver training. We also have mechanics. These are new hire mechanics, directly new into ODOT that do not have CDLs. So auto mechanics or technicians, however they may be, they are hired. Like I said, we get their CDL within a year, and then they're on full time. So right now, since February, we've had 17 mechanics come in and either trained or scheduled for training at that point. Highway Technician 1, these are our full-time employees. They come in as a Highway Technician 1, as we mentioned before, and they can move into a Highway Technician 2 after a year. Their probation's done, and if they meet certain requirements like holding a Class A CDL, whether no restrictions, spindle hitch, whatever it may be, they can upgrade, get more money in their pocket. So these are our regular folks. They're moving in. They're wanting to get more money in their pocket. And we've got 40 of those since February of this year move forward. So we're taking care of our own. We're bringing new people on, and that's important to our agency to try to retain these folks. Also, we have seasonal backup drivers. These are managers or employees in other divisions at ODOT that would like a little extra money in their pocket, and they've never had a CDL, so we'll put them through our program, and they can be a backup driver and on the weekends, evenings, or whatever that may be, or depending on if we have a large snow, they can go work on the roads. Right now we have 7 managers. They're engineers or facility employees that are scheduled to be a part of this training. So we're kind of encompassing a little bit of everybody. So how did we use the Clear Roads materials? So the PowerPoints were provided to us. We took those, converted them over, put our logo on them, put a logo on the bottom. We put our actual ODOT pictures. So went through every one of those and added pictures to make it a little bit more personable for our folks. And our local and state laws, there was spots that Clear Roads had left us to put our own data in for Ohio, our individual policies and procedures, and we took care of that. So it was really good, and the test questions were on there as we've had in the past. But our trainers didn't want to have to go out there and learn all this themselves and then worry about a 1 week or 2 week long theory class in-person training. So we decided at that point to probably take these and convert these over into e-learning. So we put everything, all the folders in there that we had created and all the adjustments we did to those and added them to it. And then we took and we converted by using a software called Articulate 360 Storyline. So Storyline took that and converted all these PowerPoints into a usable, e-learning that we can deploy through our learning management system. So of that, we have the upgrade. Everybody knows 22 modules for the upgrade, and for the Class B, 29 modules. And then for Class A, you would do 30 modules, and the difference would be coupling and uncoupling on the B and the A. So that's what happened on that one. So this is a snapshot of what we call Ohio Learn. So this is our learning management system. It's been deployed by Oracle. So we've had this probably about 5 years now, and it's really good. So we can customize all our training throughout the entire state. This is my page when I log into it, and this is what I passed, what I need to complete and don't have it completed. This is our class theory, class A, and I haven't got it done yet, so 29%. But to move forward that, I would actually click on the blue link, and then it opens up the e-learning. So it took all the PowerPoints and brought those over. So we didn't want our employees to go here and just start popping through this, because this is self-deployed, and we didn't want them to just start popping through slides and get to the end, take the quizzes, and then without learning anything. So we put a 5-second delay, so all these locks, so they'd have to read that slide, focus on that slide, and move forward. So that was a really good idea. So moving forward, at the end, we had to kind of redo all the questions list, make them so they could be used during an e-learning process. So we crafted them a little bit. Then they would complete the module, and down here at the bottom, you get the knowledge check. They go through that, and at the end, it would tell them whether they passed or failed 80% or higher. If they failed, at this point, they could actually go back and retake the lesson, and I'll show that on the next slide. So here I had 77%, and I didn't complete it. I could go back and redo the module, but we didn't want to hold them up. So if they felt comfortable, we allowed them to go, because we're going to test them at the very end of all these modules. So the very last module, if there's 30 for the Class A, module 31 will be a final exam. So the next slide talks about that. Here's our final exam. I finished all my 30 modules. At that point, I go into it and take the final exam. I need that 80%. And this is the information. This score here is the score that's going to get transmitted up to the entry level, the TPR, the Training Provider Registry. So that's part one. So click onto that one. We went out to the TPR, Training Provider Registry. We created our locations for all our individual sites. And like I said, we've got 13 total, 12 districts and central office. So our training officers enroll these folks. The individual numbers come up, and the 32 alphanumeric number for that location is in there. I can still, as I mentioned before, if I click on Manage Records, I can go back in here and I can actually add folks in manually. And I've had to do that, like I said, with those folks that we had the delay on. As far as the ClearRoads progress tracking reports, those were provided to us through ClearRoads for every one of the maneuvers for in the range and for the public road driving. The only thing we saw a problem with this one is the fact that if this is one employee and I'm tracking this for Sally, then every time Sally's in here doing the alley dock, it's another form, and it's a lot of information. So we kind of thought process this out a little bit. We decided to make our own progress reports. So we took this, and this is for the public road, and we made it multiple days. So this would be Sally's name here, all her information on top. And at that point, the days that Sally worked with you, we decided to go with a performance code, needs or improvement, fair, and good. So when somebody reaches a 3, we're saying they're proficient in that area, can move forward, and they're good, would be good with that. So we've got everything on here. If this is the public road, they're driving their very first day, we're checking for their permit, and the 11111, whatever it may be, each driving each day, that afternoon, or if it's the following day. If after a week they filled up one sheet, everybody signs it, the student signs it, the instructors sign it, and then we move forward. So we have the
Hey,
same
Doug.
form for the range. Yes.
I'm sorry, this is Greg Wadley, and I think Clay gave everyone about 8 minutes, so
Okay.
you're gonna need
Yeah.
to probably wrap that up pretty soon. I know that's good information, but we got to get on to the next one.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good. I got about
Okay,
2 more slides. And this would be the same one here on this one for the range. This is one of the documents that's already filled out from actually one of our employees from back in April. So you can see there's a running total time. So the 18 hours is what I would put up for the range, and that's done electronically through us. And then finally, we have the public road training, 19 hours. That would automatically go up, or I could do it manually. So manually, so that's where we're at. I think that's the complete ride there, Scott. And then if you had anything else, I know we're pushing for time here, but
No, thanks a lot, Doug. Yeah, but no, I appreciate that. And like I said, Doug and I will be around for questions if you have any. Thank you.
all right, thank you.
thanks very much.
All right, I'm going to hand things over. Craig, Jason, do you want me to make Jason the presenter for Iowa? So you might be on mute if you're speaking. Jason, do you need to be the presenter for Iowa?
Yes, I don't think Craig was going to be in here, Craig Barkfried, so
Okay.
I'll be the presenter for
All right.
this. So,
Okay. Well, your name is not showing up now. Oh, there we go. Gotcha. Make presenter. All right. You should be presenter now.
okay. See if I can figure this out. Oh, whoops, sorry. Of course. Get this up here. Okay.
All right.
Should be
That's
showing
good.
now, I hope. Okay.
Yep.
Like I said, my name is Jason Fisher. I'm with the Iowa Department of Transportation. So I am the Iowa DOT's statewide training maintenance coordinator. Do everything from I do a lot of travel in the state, teaching our new training folks, a lot of employee outreach, a lot of city and county outreach as well. So, like I said, I am the administrator for the Iowa DOT for the ELDT training. So. With the development of the material, we utilize the Clear Roads ELDT curriculum as a foundation for what we're currently doing. So, provided material to be incorporated into the web-based learning that we use. With Iowa DOT, it's called Iowa DOTU, is what we utilize for our in-house employee training. So, and also provide an outline for topics that we needed, obviously, to be covering for entry-level driver training. And then from Clear Roads, we also took the proficiency checks from Clear Roads and incorporated that into our hands-on learning that we do. We have 2 separate books that we do our hands-on learning from, and I will share that here in a minute. So, like I say, within Iowa DOT, we have Iowa DOTU, our motor vehicle division, which would actually be like our folks at the DL stations, our motor vehicle enforcement officers, that division of Iowa DOT. They were primarily focused on the development of the theory portion of this training. So with that, we incorporated the training material into our LearnSoft system through the Articulate 360 worked well for us. So like it says, it was converted, or we utilize it to convert the material from Clear Roads to the DOTU, the LMS system. And then in our system too, Motor Vehicle Division, also their trainers provided narration for the web-based portion of this training, the 5-part series in our DOTU system. So with our employees, when they go through the theory portion, we utilize Workday for our timesheets and onboarding our new employees. For Workday to talk to our LMS system, which talks to our Iowa DOTU, usually we can have our folks active in that web-based learning platform within the usually within the first week. Sometimes it's within the first 3 or 4 days, excuse me, of them being employed with. So with our system, here again, it's the theory portion is all web-based. It is all narrated by our motor vehicle division trainers, and it has been put into 5-part series in DOTU. It progressively just goes 1 through 5. It includes the curriculum that Clear Roads had, step by step, with the different things that were set forth by the federal guidelines. We built into that system also an 80% pass-fail is built into the quizzes throughout the course. And what that does is we still have a trainer with that employee, obviously, or in that employee can interact with while they're taking this online portion of the training. But the training is read to them. They're able to go through and do the curriculum start to finish, and it will not allow them to advance on to the next section unless they pass the quizzes that are built into the system itself, and then they take the final quiz at the end of the system. As they complete everything. So once they have completed the theory portion of it, that information obviously goes into the federal website. Here again, 80% is the minimum for them to pass the theory curriculum for the federal government. So that's where that's where we make our pass fail at. So anybody that has an 80% obviously passes, and anybody below would retake the course if need be. So this is just kind of a short look at what our main dashboard looks like in our DOTU learning system. So in this down below where it says courses in the left-hand corner, that's actually where the courses would be stacked at for the online theory portion of the DOTU training. So for our theory portion of the ELDT. So opening it up, this is what it would look like down below on the courses. As you can see here on the screen, it has the different courses, the different sections, I should say, 1 through 5. They're done in progression. Here again, 80% to go on to the next section, and then down below is actually what our employees are seeing when they hit the launch button on our DOTU system and actually go into that training module. So here again, no different than Ohio did. We changed some of the pictures around, made it look a little more like us, put our logo in it, and then we actually have one of our own people narrating this program as it is speaking to our employees. So our road and range portion of our training, this portion was developed by the maintenance training coordinator, myself. Clear Roads materials was incorporated utilizing the proficiency checks, no different than other states are probably doing. And then obviously too, we took the guidance from Clear Roads on what topics we needed to cover. So we shrunk down some of the material. Some of the stuff doesn't always totally relate to state government and stuff that we're doing for our own in-house employees. So some of the stuff we were able to change a little bit, manipulate, just to kind of focus more on what our employees were going to be doing every day, more so than what somebody over the road would do or whatever the case may be. So information for the road and range also came from our own commercial motor vehicle driver's license manual and from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. So got information from both of them, incorporated those into books, and this is what the final product would look like. So with our range training, it focuses on the backing portion, the curriculum that they're going to have to test out with our motor vehicle division when they actually take their final license and their final exams. It talks about anything that is pre-trip inspection, getting to know the vehicle, anything hands-on that is kind of going to be done in the parking lot of our maintenance garage or something like that. Everything that they need to do is in that book. The proficiency checks are in there. As our trainers go through with the new employees, they fill out proficiency checks as they get each step of the book done. They tear that out. Those all get scanned to me, and I keep those for later purposes if we would ever get audited or something like that. So with our public road training, pretty self-explanatory there. Like I say, our trainers are going out with our new employees. They are doing the very basic stuff that a new employee is going to, or a new driver is going to need to know. Always watching the speed limits, how they're acting behind the wheel of the vehicle. What I tell my trainers is that if you feel safe for them to drive by your family on their way home, then we've probably done what we can with that new employee. They've crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, and they should be ready to go take that final test out with motor vehicle division. So just a little bit of look inside of our books here. Table of contents here on our range book on the top left-hand side. So proficiency check that we utilize, I believe this one is out of our road training book. And then down at the bottom, some more information we took out of the motor vehicle, Iowa commercial motor vehicle training book. We just put in some pictures with the documentation, kind of putting, some of the people have never been behind the wheel of a commercial vehicle. Some of them have done it for years with dad or on the farm, wherever the case may be. So we try to customize it to make it easy and user friendly for everybody that we're gonna end up being influenced by this training. So overview of our program currently offered at no cost to DOT employees only. New employees must have at least a commercial learner's permit before we do hire them on here at Iowa DOT. Most of the people that we are training to get our CDLs are our highway tech associates, ground level, entry level position guys out filling the potholes in, plowing the snow. HTs are dual purpose employees that are plowing snow and also going to construction during the summertime. And then obviously our mechanic folks are also benefiting from this. So currently we are not training part-time help to get their class or to get their CDLs. We're still pretty new to the program with the amount of time it is taking for us to get through the program with people. Right now, it's just not an option that we have yet to do as far as train our part-time people to get their CDL. So per HR policy, employees have up to 5 months to obtain their commercial motor vehicle license. And then only thing that Iowa DOT right now is offering is only Class A CDLs. We have to have a tanker endorsement on there because of our liquid tanks we're pulling for de-icing. We try to get everybody we can a fifth wheel with a manual transmission. We try to get them the best license they can get so we can best utilize them. Here again within Iowa DOT, we don't per se have different sections of roadway workers. if you're an HTA, you are doing everything from running bulldozers to filling in potholes. So we don't have all the different divisions of workers and stuff like that. So as of today so far, 37 people have successfully completed our program training since July of this year. So far, we've had 100% passing on our curriculum. So far, we've done very, very well. We have had a couple people that have had to go and take it twice as far as their final test out, but so far, everybody we've had to go through the program has successfully got their CDL license. So currently, the maintenance training coordinator did initial rollout myself for the train the trainer of the format and the materials that we're going to be using. State of Iowa currently has one program administrator, myself, 6 location managers across Iowa DOT. We have 6 maintenance districts. Each one of those has its own representative that directly works under me. Beyond that, we have 71 registered trainers across the state and 72 registered training locations. Huge, huge program. We pretty much have a trainer and a location in pretty much every maintenance circle we have. Usually maintenance circles are made up of anywhere from 2 to 5 maintenance garages. So we did a very, very vast spread out. We do not have all of the training people, all of the extra people that are just focusing on training. Most of our trainers for the stuff we are doing are in-house people that are actually going out also and plowing snow and stuff like that when need be. So these are people that have just volunteered for this program to be a part of it. So our motor vehicle division are still administering the final commercial motor vehicle test. We do not do that. We do not have any certified preceptors within the Maintenance Bureau of Iowa DOT. Time invested so far. Currently, we do not apply contracts on new employees receiving CDL training. If we run into, so far we have not run into the problem where we've been a stepping stone as far as come here, get your training, and then move elsewhere. So far, we've had pretty good luck with people. If they do come in and need CDL training, they have stuck with us so far. If it does become a problem in the future, I do think that we will start contracting some of them people, but as of yet, we have not had to. So the third portion of the training is talking is approximately about 2 days or 16 hours to complete the total theory portion of the training. Range and roads vary greatly depending on driving experience. Here again, we have some people that know nothing about a commercial motor vehicle. Other people have been driving corn to the elevator for their dad for 15 years before they come work for us. Those people will go through the program pretty quick. So road and range combined is taking anywhere from 10 to 40 hours depending on how much material that we're covering or how in depth we have to do on the material. So I think that is all I had. Sorry, I kind of a crash course on it. So.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Jason. Okay, so we've had Ohio and Iowa. We are switching the order up and giving Idaho a chance to go. So Amanda, I am going to give you controls, and you should now have them. And looks good.
Hey, good morning. I'm Miranda Rainier, so I am the Training and Development Program Supervisor for the Idaho Transportation Department. First, I would like to say thanks to Clear Roads for putting together all the curriculum because it did make our lives a lot easier to roll out our program, so kudos to that. We do have 6 different districts across the state of Idaho. We have certified 29 new drivers since the implementation of our program as of February 7th. We did a lot as similar as Ohio did in their state where we took the information. All of our theory is delivered in a learning management system. So there were some modifications that we did make. We did add our own companies and state policies, procedures, pictures, and logos, very similar to Ohio, just to ensure that it was very specific and they felt like they were taking it from ITD. The other thing that we did is that we included logbook forms and logbook training in our curriculum. Even though the states are exempt, we ensured that that was included. So that was one thing that we found that was missing from the curriculum at that time. We've had 2 retakes. We do have 100% success for passing in total, but we did have those 2 retakes when they went to the state DMV to take their licenses. A couple lessons learned that we have learned is just like making sure that we're reiterating the 48 hours for the time requirement that we need to post to the Federal Motor Carriers website. So we had individuals who were completing the coursework in our learning management system, and then were failing to notify us. So we were getting that flag. So just making sure that we're sending out consistent communication to our groups and our trainers to make sure that they're giving us our information as soon as possible. The other thing is that just making sure that when we do have our behind the wheel instructors, that they are the ones who are ultimately making the decision, not the employee stating like, I'm ready, I can do this, I'm confident that I can do it. So one of our retakes was actually a driver who was demonstrating proficiency, but was not 100% ready to go, but they felt like they were. And so the instructor signed them off, and ultimately they were not. So that was a lesson learned from us. All of our classroom theory is delivered in our learning management system, and it's 30 hours total. We do require that when the individuals are going through the coursework that they have to complete the quizzes with 80%. If they do not complete it with an 80%, then they are required to complete that entire module over again. We have noticed it causes our individuals to pay more attention, and we too also set it where they cannot click through the modules to skip to the quizzes, that there is a time for each slide. Our behind the wheel is taking from average of 40 to 60 hours. That is what we're finding for the 29 individuals. That is the average. The cost of the training, so we approximate about $12,000 because we're not just taking into consideration the cost of sending them to a driving school, but we're also taking into account the wages, per diem, hotel costs, and other travel arrangements that we would have to pay if we were sending them to a different location to get their training. ITD has a 60-day requirement. From the day of hire, you have 60 days to obtain your Class A CDL. We require all employees to get a Class A with tanker endorsement. We have had one individual certify a Class B just because he was a headquarter individual who was not required to have a Class A endorsement. We do manual and tanker endorsements, and the state testers are continuing to do our state testing. But we do have 110 total statewide behind the wheel instructors who are delivering the curriculum. We have 656 maintenance technicians, and of those 110, they are maintenance technicians who have been here, so our seasoned employees, and also foremen who are offering to provide the training. Any questions?
All right, sounds good. I think at
Who
this
does
point
your
we're still
testing?
just. Oh, okay.
The state does our testing.
Testing. This is Jeff Fulton with Oregon DOT. I was just curious on who does your testing. Thank you.
Yep, the state DMV.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So we're gonna hold the. If you have questions or comments, do me a favor and put them in the chat box. I will go ahead and get us to the next person, which I believe is going to be Indiana. So Jeremy and Pat, I'm guessing that you're the one that's going to be doing this. So I'm going to give you controls.
Yeah, so hopefully everybody hear me. I'm having a little technical difficulties. Probably not going to take 8 minutes because I do not. Pardon me?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying I can hear you fine. So.
Okay, great. I do not have a presentation to provide because I didn't know we needed one. So, but in kind to everybody else, Indiana is broke up into districts. We are broke up into 6. We have the Southwest, Southeast, East-West, or East-West Central, East Central, Northwest, and Northeast. I am the highway maintenance director for the East piece. So I've been a part of this since inception of it and the development of it. We started way before the February kickoff date. So leading up to that date is we had all the meeting, got all of our training curriculum in place. As everybody else, information from Clear made it our own with our own logos, our own information, and our policies. Prior to we got positions in which we are. So each of the districts has one. There are that have two, and the reality is districts have the most turnover rate. So just for example, entire state of our or February, Indiana has processed approximately 300 students through their classes with a 97 pass rate on the 100% pass rate altogether. My particular district was 50 accounted for 125 of them. So you can see our district so have a greater need. So that's why some have two. Majority of the time, depending on which district and what they're doing, classroom curriculum piece is by the trainer. And if there is only one trainer, then the students go out to the maintenance unit or the sub districts, as we call them, where they would be two for winter operations to receive their behind the wheel training. Same information that everybody else has been talking about, the passing score of 80%. We do not do classroom training or based, ours all through the PowerPoint given in a room type setting with all the students in the class. It takes about 3 days to go all through all the modules. And then there's the test, obviously, at the end. And the test is given either one of two ways, depends on which district you're in. It can be either through the LMS system or it can be handwritten. The results are entered the TPR or you're able to even test your the test. So don't a lot other than that because everything else is redundant information that everybody else has been on. So to me, it's similar in kind. The only difference would be it sounds like Indiana processes a lot more than everybody else. And I am interested in hearing some of the error that it's $12,000, $6,000 for students. They're probably processing a student average $900 to $1,200. I guess it'll take 8 minutes.
All right, thank you, Pat. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing for a second. And the next person to go, this would be now South Dakota. So I believe Jim Heafy. Do I give you controls?
This is, Jim's gonna, this is Craig Smith, South Dakota DOT. Yeah, and I don't need controls. I won't be presenting anything. So South Dakota took a different approach. Jim Heafy's with the Associated General Contractors, and we have been coordinating and partnering with them on workforce issues within the industry for a number of years. And at least for us, from just a resource management, not having a lot of trainers available to take it on ourselves, and really not a big need. We have around 400 employees that require a CDL for their positions and anticipated needing to train 15 to maybe 20 a year. So AGC stepped up and they're providing that, and then we just pay fees when we need to send them to the courses. So in South Dakota, if we hire an individual without a CDL, we give them 6 months to get a Class A with the tanker endorsements, manual transmission, and we do sign a contract with them for 24 months, and then they reimburse us on the $2,500. And I don't think there was a lot of magic to that. I think we ballparked what the fees are that we pay AGC along with a little bit, excuse me, time to attend the theory and do some of the behind the wheel time as well. I would anticipate it's more than that when you figure on the time that we have other employees working with them and training them, but we came up with 2,500, and I guess we'll see how that works before we make any changes. So as far as the training itself, I'll probably let Jim talk about some of that, how they've used the clear roads, but kind of what we've done is they provide the theory, And then they also provided train the trainer for the behind the wheel. So for us, I think we've had 32 of our employees that do the behind the wheel after they've done the theory through the AGC's courses. But Jim, maybe you just want to talk a little bit about how you use some of the Clear Roads materials that were provided.
Sure, thanks, Craig. I don't have a nice PowerPoint like many of you did either. Sorry about that. We made a big push prior to the LDT rule where we trained 106 students in various avenues related to the new rule. But I'll only talk about the numbers post ELDT rule. Since then, we've had 199 contacts with our student contacts, and we're using a retired teacher from a college that is our subject matter expert, and he is conducting all these classes for us. He did 119 students for our train the trainer. Of those, 64 were our contractors, 32 came from the DOT, and 23 from other entities, such as tribes, local municipalities, city, state, or, excuse me, not city, city, county. 42 theory classes under the new rule. Of those, 24 were contractors, 12 DOT, and 6 from other entities. We've done 34 prep classes to get their CLP. We've done a combination of those, 21 in person, 13 via Zoom. Of those, 13 have been contractors. 14, we are using a grant from Federal Highway Administration. So 14 of those prep classes, students, I count as AGC/DOT. They're really not assigned or accounted for by any entity yet. So we're hoping to get those either into contractors or the DOT's place of business, and 7 others in those prep classes. 3 vehicle inspections and 1 behind the wheel conducted by our master trainer. Of those trainers, we've had 13 that have completed our train the trainer for behind the wheel and range training, work with students. Of those 13, 9 have come from contractors, 3 from DOT, and 1 classified as other. As far as success, our theory, we've had 100% success rate. Ours is instructor-led, can be up to 24 hours on that. For our behind the wheel, out of those 13, we did have 1 failure. However, he did go in and retest, failed the air brake test. On our lessons learned, we used the Clear Roads curriculum for the train the trainer without any changes. Seems like that has worked well for us. Now, our lead trainer did elect to use J.J. Keller for the theory instruction. And again, that's anywhere from 2.5 to 3 days, depending on the class size and experience of those folks that are coming through the classes. We are offering those classes throughout the state. We'll bounce through about 4 different locales within South Dakota throughout the year. As far as time spent, we've had those 13 students on the range for 640 hours, average of just over 49 hours, with the shortest being 9.5 hours, and the longest spent on the range was 178 hours. Our behind the wheel, those 13, it should be the same 13 students, or it is, 1,075 hours total for an average of 82 2/3 hours, with the shortest behind the wheel time 8 hours, the longest being 325 hours for any one student. We're not tracking the cost to train employees because many of them are not our employees of the AGC. The 41 records that we've entered into the trainer provider registry, 38 of those have been for a Class A and 3 for a Class B. We are not offering an A or a B. We're doing our theory as a Class A. That way nobody can go in saying, I took the wrong class or you didn't give me what we needed. And endorsements, we're doing whatever the student comes to us with needing. Class A with air brakes, Class B, hazmat, whatever the needs are, our lead instructor can train. The state administered third-party testers are doing the drive tests after the individuals are signed off in the TPR by our trainers that have completed the train the trainer. And again, I want to specify that our trainers, if they're behind the wheel, are just behind the wheel. We have one lead trainer that's doing the theory for us. That sounds like it's a little different than the other presentations. And our costs for DOT or AGC members for the prep class is $150 per person. Our train the trainer is $300. Our theory $500. Our vehicle inspection training $150, and our behind the wheel at $100. So we're trying to do it cost effectively for everybody throughout the state. And if they're not part of the AGC or DOT, the prices do increase, but we're still working with the tribes, local governments, non-members, whoever comes to us wanting to do it. That's all I had, Craig.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. That's a pretty good overview of South Dakota. Yeah, there's one question in the chat. Know that the contractor reference is contractors and DOT are attending the theory together with just the AGC-led training. But go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you. This is Greg Wadley. I do have to jump off right now, so I'm going to turn over any questions or comments that need to be addressed in the chat box to Doug McBroom or Clay Adams. So I'm going to leave now, and thank you very much, everybody. But continue on.
Yeah, great presentations. Really appreciate everyone who presented. I think we've answered all the questions in the chat box. So if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question of any of the presenters, now's the time to do so. This is normally not a shy group, so go ahead.
Yeah, this is Scott Lucas with Ohio, and I'm not the quiet one either. Yeah, I was curious about the other speakers on if they have any kind of programs where they charge people a certain amount of money for the CDL and the whole debt, and if they leave, they have to pay that back. I saw some of the comments, but I didn't see. I don't think everybody kind of talked about that. Any other states have any kind of input on that?
For Indiana, the only financial impact that there are to a students, and at the end of the day, we've made a conscious decision as the Indiana Department of Transportation to hire an individual that has a CDL requirement but did not have a CDL when we come on. So we feel like we owe it to them to do what we can to make sure that we meet their condition of employment, because they have 90 days in Indiana to get their CDL. The only time that there's a financial impact to the team member is we only pay for one testing at the testing facility. So if they go in to do their skills test at the facility and they fail, we reschedule a second test, and that cost has to come from the employee, which is typically, I want to say it's $80 per test.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
This is Craig in South Dakota. Yeah, we're the same. The only cost the new employee would have would be at the actually getting the actual CDL through Department of Motor Vehicles. Otherwise, we cover all costs. We do the same if they do fail the third-party driving test the first time. Then we expect them to pay for any subsequent testing, but otherwise we cover all the other costs.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Doug, this is Patty. I guess I'm curious, and maybe people can just pop it in the chat. How many other states, I know we've talked about this before, actually do your own in-house testing, driver testing?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to pop it in the chat.
Thanks.
All right, well, I am to be conscious of everyone's time. Gonna send you all off with a thank you to Clay for putting this together. Clay, I really appreciate it. This is a great webinar and exactly what we want to do with our research that we do through Clear Roads. I know Greg is not on, but thanks to Greg to setting the meeting up and recording that. And I just appreciate all the presenters. I know Montana has an ELDT training program, and we certainly could present if we want to do more of these in the future. But big thank you to everybody, and especially to Clay and Greg.